I started the company Tony Osborne Architecture, I bought the domain osbornearch.com. And as you can tell, it's not easy to say and it's not easy to remember. When I renamed the company Toad, I knew that it was time to rethink the domain. I studied architecture in Chicago, which is an amazing city for architecture. And so I really became aware of the history of modern architecture in that city. Vancouver has this phenomenon of being very courteous, even in design. And so when a building is built, there are all kinds of bylaws and discussions that have to do with making that building a very good neighbor to other buildings. In Chicago, it wasn't that way at all. Chicago has a nickname, the city of broad shoulders, because the buildings are very big and massive and hard to the street. I knew the entire time that I was working for other design practices that I was always probably destined to work for myself. I wouldn't say I'm a terrible employee, but it's just clear that some people are going to work better if they're self-directed. For better or worse, that's the realization that I came to. And so that's when I decided to start Toad. Toad is a small design practice. We design small-scale residential and commercial projects, as well as some more interesting public spaces and things like that. I knew that toad.com probably wasn't going to be a URL that was available to me without paying a lot of money. Toad.arch was available, A-R-C-H, which is supposed to appeal to architecture practices, but I don't think most people in the general public would associate .arch with architecture, because what I've also found is that people in the general public are fairly confused about what architects do. And I found that design actually gets much closer to what architects can offer. Because in reality, architects are trained to address design on a wide variety of scales. It just happens that buildings is one of those scales, but urban design, industrial design, and landscape design are all very much within the purview of what architects can do. And so I thought a .design domain would really fit well for the company. I think it's really helpful to have in the URL some description about what the company does. If my website were toad.com, for instance, there'd be no indication that we do architecture or design at all. So I think the real benefit of having .design as part of the URL is that it identifies you as a designer. People already know, if they know your URL, something about what you do as a company. Because it seems to me that every company would want a domain that communicates clearly what they do immediately. If you have a .design domain and you are a designer, you automatically associate yourself with other designers who have that domain. And so it creates a community of companies. My name is Tony Osborne. My company is Toad, and my website is toad.design.